Well, I'm Nancy Hathaway, and I am the founder-director of Heart for Orphans. It's a ministry that's been going 15 years now. Came out of the chapel here, and basically what we do is we have homes in Ukraine for orphans who have aged out of the orphanage. Several years ago, back in the 90s, my husband Steve and I started to pray that God would use us somehow. We didn't want to just waste our life and get to the end and not have done what He's called us to do. So we did, and God kept putting adoption in front of us. To be honest, that was a really scary thing for me. I was terrified. I'd already had a son and raised him and didn't want to go back to square one, and so the whole idea of adoption was just terrifying. And so I would research, and anyway, it wasn't something I gladly went through. But then in the end, Steve would say, well, if God's called us to it, don't we want to be in God's will? So, and of course the answer was always yes, so we moved ahead. We got to the point where we had to say where we were going to adopt, and we had no idea. And the social worker asked us, and then Steve said, well, if God puts it right at our feet, then we will know it's Him, and if not, we're not going any further. So within a couple of days after that, I got a call from the chapel's mission director at that time, who asked us if we wanted to go to Ukraine on a trip. This was back when the Murphys had an eyeglass ministry, and they needed some worker bees to come and to help. Well, Steve couldn't because of his business, but I went. And on the very last day that we were there, they showed, we were all done with the mission that we came for, the eyeglasses, and they showed us around 2 orphanages. I started asking lots of questions and got a lot of answers, and came home and talked with Steve, and he said, well, it sure looks like God's put it right at our feet, so obviously we're meant to go to Ukraine. Interestingly enough, we were directed to an orphanage where there had been no adoptions before. And so we were only the second family in that orphanage, and the first family was just the day before us. So we went, and lots of stories about it, but the bottom line is we met our very first daughter, fell in love with her, and brought her home. And through the course of the next year, we went back 9 months later for our second daughter. First daughter, Natalie, second daughter, Angelina, and third daughter, Elizabeth. But when I came back, my heart just broke for the kids that were left behind. Very few kids are going to get adopted. Less than 5% are adopted. So I just felt compelled, like God had showed me something. I needed to do something. I felt that God had given me a vision of a family-style home where kids could go and be discipled. What does it mean to walk with the Lord? What does a healthy marriage look like? What does a healthy family look like? If you've never seen it modeled, if you've only ever lived in an institution, how do you know? Over the last 10 years, we've had 10 houses. We've had 222 kids come through those houses, and 72 of them, almost exactly a third, have come to Christ. Now, I don't mean just that they went to an altar call and that was it, and then they went back to a sleepy life. I mean, their life dramatically turned around. We've got kids who are pastors, who are businessmen. We have kids that are missionaries in Kenya and Kyrgyzstan and India, Nepal. We have kids that, I mean, you just to look at them, you would see the change. You just see a sparkle in their eye. You see an attitude of service. They want to give back. They want to do for others. I mean, you know that's God. You know God's touched their heart. Our homes are about discipleship. That's the bottom line, because just getting out and learning how to life skills, or learning how to cook or clean, or that's great, that's wonderful, vocational things. But the bottom line is what's going to change the kids' life is really when the Lord comes into their heart and changes their life. That's when you see real change, and it's exciting to watch, because then they go off in directions that it's just overwhelming to watch. You know it's God, because there's no way you could do this by yourself.